faith, persistence, and the ultimate triumph of justice. This is the story of Ram Janmabhoomi, the birthplace of Lord Rama, and how a civilization reclaimed its sacred geography after 500 years of struggle. January 22nd, 2024, marked exactly 1 year since the consecration of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. But this isn't just about one temple. This is about the restoration of the Hindu sacred geography, the vindication of archaeological truth, and the longest legal battle in modern Hindu history. Tonight, we examine every dimension of this civilizational victory. We will take you through the archaeological evidence that proved beyond doubt the existence of an ancient Hindu temple, the 134-year legal journey that finally delivered justice, and the spiritual significance of this restoration for over 2 billion Hindus worldwide. We'll also explore a remarkable Hindu civilization in the modern era. But first, let us understand what was lost 500 years ago and why it took half a millennium to reclaim it. The year was 1528. The Mughal Emperor Babur had established his empire in Bharat just 2 years prior. In the sacred city of Ayodhya, on the banks of the Sarayu River, stood a magnificent temple marking the birthplace of Lord Rama, the Maryada Purushottama, the perfect embodiment of Dharma. Lord Rama, the seventh avatar of Vishnu, was born in the 81st generation of the illustrious Ishvaku dynasty, also known as the Surya Vamsa or the Solar Dynasty. This lineage traced its origins to Ishvaku, the son of Vivaswata Manu. This was the most ancient and revered royal lineage of the Hindu civilization. Historical records, though debated in their interpretation, indicate that under Babur's commander, Mir Baki, a structure was built at this sacred site. What is undisputed is that by 1528, the Hindu community lost access to the most sacred birthplace of Lord Rama. For Hindus, this wasn't merely the loss of a building. Ram Janmabhoomi is one of the 7 most sacred tirthas, pilgrimage sites, in Hindu sacred geography, along with Varanasi, Haridwar, Ujjain. The significance of Ayodhya cannot be overstated. Puranas describe Ayodhya as the capital of the ancient Kosala kingdom, a city of unparalleled spiritual importance. To lose Ram Janmabhoomi was to lose a piece of the Hindu civilizational soul. What followed were 5 centuries of persistent faith. Despite the loss, despite the passage of generations, the Hindu community never forgot. They never abandoned their claim. They never stopped believing that one day justice would be restored. And in 1885, exactly 357 years after the loss, the first formal legal step towards reclamation began. January 19, 1885, this date marks the beginning of what would become one of the longest legal battles in modern history. On this day, Mahant Raghubir Das, a Hindu priest, filed a petition in the Faizabad structure. His petition was rejected. The British colonial administration, wary of communal tensions, refused. But this rejection did not end the matter. It formalized it, what had been a civilizational in this period. 1885, first legal suit filed by Mahant Raghubir Das was rejected. 1934, communal riots in Ayodhya, after which the structure was reportedly damaged. December 22nd to 23rd, 1949, a pivotal moment, idols of Ram Lala mysteriously appeared inside the structure. That night in December 1949 changed everything. The appearance of the Ram Lala idol deity transformed the dispute from a historical claim into an active site of worship. On December 29, 1949, the Civil Court in Faizabad issued an order to maintain status quo. The gates were locked, but worship was allowed to continue through the gates. This compromise would last for decades with Hindu communities. 1950, Gopal Singh Visharat files the first suit for the right to worship at the site. Nirmohi Akhara filed suit claiming ownership and management rights. 1961, the Sunni Waqf Board filed suit claiming ownership of the entire site. Three major parties, three different claims, one sacred piece of land. The stage was set for what would become the most complex property dispute in independent India's history. But here's what makes this case unique. It wasn't just about property law. It was about history, about archaeology, about the fundamental question, what existed at this site before 1528. To answer that question, we need to look at the archaeological evidence, and what was discovered beneath the ground would prove to be absolutely definitive. March 12, 2003, after years of legal wrangling, the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, began what would become one of the most important archaeological excavations. The Allahabad High Court had ordered the ASI to excavate the disputed site to determine what, if anything, existed beneath the structure built in 1528. This excavation lasted nearly 6 months, from March 12 to August 7, 2003. The team excavated 90 trenches across the site. What they found was extraordinary. Let me walk you through the key findings from the ASI report submitted to the High Court on August 22, 2003. The ASI discovered at least 50 pillar bases beneath the disputed structure. These weren't ordinary pillars. These were massive stone bases designed to support a significant superstructure. The pillars show distinctive features of Hindu temple architecture, specifically the Purna Kalasha, indicating a temple sanctum. Makara Prachin, the decorative water spouts used exclusively in temple architecture. Multiple stone fragments were discovered with inscriptions in Sanskrit, including references to the Vishnu devotees, temple constructions, royal patronage. The archaeological layers showed continuous occupation and construction from approximately 1000 BCE to 300 BCE. Northern Black polished ware culture, 1st century BC to the 3rd century BCE, early structural phases, and 11th to 12th century CE, the period when the massive temple structure was built. Now let's be very clear about what this evidence means. The ASI report concluded, and I quote, "Viewing in totality and taking into account the archaeological evidence of a massive structure just below the disputed structure and evidence of continuity in structural phases from the 10th century onwards up to the, as well as mutilated sculpture of divine couple and carved architectural members, including foliage patterns, amalaka, kapatakali, kapatapali, durjam with semicircular pilaster, broken octagonal shaft of black schist pillar, lotus motif, circular shrine having pranala or water shoots in the north, 50 pillar bases in association with the huge structure are indicative of remains, which are distinctive features found in association with temples of North India. In simpler terms, a large Hindu temple structure dating from the 11th to the 12th century definitely existed at this site before the 1528 construction. But here's the most important point. The ASI found 14 black stone pillars that had been reused in the 1528 structure. These pillars originally belonged to the Hindu temple. This means that materials from the pre-existing temple were incorporated into the later construction. One particularly significant finding was the discovery of what archaeologists call a sacrificial post, a stone pillar with inscriptions that mentioned the installation of a Vishnu temple. This directly connects the site to Vaishnavite worship, which is central to Sri Ram worship, Janmabhoomi before 1528. With this archaeological evidence in hand, the legal battle entered its final phase. Now, September 30, 2010, the Allahabad High Court delivered its verdict after 60 years of litigation. In a remarkable judgment, the court ordered the disputed land to be divided into 3 parts among the 3 main parties, the Sunni Waqf Board, the Nirmohi Akhara, and the Ram Lala Devi. Parties appealed to the Supreme 9 years. Let us see the key timelines. August 6 to led by Chief Justice Ram Ranjan Gogoi. The hearing lasted 40 days, making it one of the longest hearings in the Supreme Court history. On November 9, 2019, the Supreme Court delivered its historic verdict. The judgment ran to 1,045 pages, one of the longest in the India. Judges agreed on the core conclusions. 1. The archaeological evidence was accepted. The court accepted that the ASI findings that there was a pre-existing structure beneath the disputed site that was not Islamic in character. The court found that Hindus had previously believed the site to be the birthplace of Lord Rama and had maintained worship even in the outer courtyard throughout the disputed period. And third, the Supreme Court awarded the entire disputed 2.77-acre land for the construction of a Ram temple to be overseen by a trust created by the government. Fourth, the court directed the government to provide 5 acres of triumph of both law and reconciliation after 134 years from the first legal filing in 1885. After 70 years of intense litigation in independent India, justice had been delivered. The Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirtha Kshetra Trust was established to oversee the construction of the temple, and on August 5, 2020, the foundation stone was laid in a grand ceremony. Opened its doors. A 500-year wait had finally ended. Now let's talk about what was built, because the new Ram Mandir is not just a temple. It is an architectural masterpiece that represents the finest traditions of the Hindu temple architecture. The temple is designed in the traditional Nagara style of the Hindu temple architecture, the same style that dominated North Indian temple construction from the 6th to the 13th centuries. This style is characterized by its towering shikara, the spire over the main sanctum. The temple has 3 stories, each floor reaching 20 feet in height. The entire structure is supported by 392 pillars, each intricately carved, 96 doors with traditional temple's doorway design, 5 mandapas or halls, Nitya Mandap, dance hall, Rang Mandap, assembly hall, Sabha Mandap, gathering hall, Prathana Mandap, prayer hall, Kirtan Mandap, devotional singing hall. The main god, Lord Rama as a child. This idol represents Rama at his birth, marking this as his Janmabhoomi, his birthplace. On the first floor sits the Ram Darbar, the royal court of Lord Rama, featuring idols of Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughan, and Hanuman. The temple is built using pink sandstone from Rajasthan for the outer structure, white marble for the idols and interior decorations, traditional construction techniques passed down through generations of temple architects. On January 2, 2024, in the presence of dignitaries, saints, and thousands of devotees, the Prana Pratishtha ceremony was conducted, the ritual that infuses divine life. Understand why this restoration matters so profoundly to Hindus worldwide. We need to understand Lord Rama himself. Who was he? What did he represent? And why is his birthplace so sacred? Lord Rama is revered as Maryada Purushottama, a title that translates to the perfect adherent to righteousness, or the supreme among men who upholds boundaries and dharma. According to 16 divine qualities, Valmiki Ramayana are Viryavan, possessing great power of dharma, always righteous, in speech, Dridha, perfect in Vidwan, learned and wise, pleasant in appearance and demeanor, Atmavan, self-controlled, master of his senses, Jitendriyaha, conqueror of the senses, Buddhiman, wise and intelligent, Nitiman, ethical and principled. Sarma, Sri Rama demonstrated each quality through his actions. Sri Rama is not merely a historical king or even just an avatar of Vishnu. He represents Raja Dharma, the ideal of righteous kingship. He showed that power must always be exercised with restraint, that might must serve right, that a leader's first duty is to his people, not to personal ambition. And that is why Sri Rama is called Purushottama, the supreme person. He demonstrated that perfection is achievable, that dharma can be lived, that righteousness can govern. For Hindus, Ram Janmabhoomi isn't just the birthplace of a historical figure, it is the birthplace of the ideal itself, the place where dharma incarnated, where divine righteousness took human form to show years. And this is what has now. And here's a remarkable connection to this story that extends into the present day, a living link to the same royal lineage from which Lord Rama descended. As we mentioned earlier, Lord Rama was born in the Surya Vamsa, the solar dynasty founded by Ishvaku, son of Vaivashvatamanu. This was the most illustrious royal lineage in the ancient Hindu civilization, producing generations of righteous kings who upheld dharma. This lineage has continued through a spiritual succession, and today, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, stands as the 203rd successor of this ancient Surya Vamsa lineage. On December 31st, 2004, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the 203rd Emperor of the Surya Vamsa Surangi Samrajyam by Mata Rajamata Rani Sana Jema Manjula Manjari Devi, formally recognizing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as the spiritual heir to this ancient lineage. This isn't merely symbolic. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has dedicated his entire life to the revival of KAILASA, the store the very principles that Sri Rama embodied: dharma, righteousness, spiritual knowledge, and the sacred sciences of the Hindu civilization. KAILASA celebrated globally. In the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's own words, this restoration of Ram Janmabhoomi represents not just the reclaiming of one temple, but the revival of Hindu civilizational consciousness itself. KAILASA conducted worldwide celebrations, including Akhanda Sri Rama Nama Japa, continuous chanting of Lord Rama's name, Sri Rama Nirahara, the spiritual fasting in Rama's honor, Rama Puja ceremonies in global KAILASA temples across 6 continents, pilgrimage to Ayodhya with thousands of devotees. In this way, the lineage of Sri Rama, that ancient Surya Vamsa, continues not just in memory but in active spiritual leadership, working to restore the dharmic principles that Sri Rama embodied 7,000 years ago. From Sri Rama to the 203rd successor, the mission remains the same: Dharma Samstha Panartaya, to establish dharma, to revive righteousness, to ensure that Hindu civilization's spiritual knowledge benefits all humanity. And as we close this report today, let's step back and understand the broader significance of what has occurred. The restoration of Ram Janmabhoomi is not an isolated event. It represents a fundamental shift in how the Hindu civilization relates to its own sacred geography. For centuries, Hindu sacred sites have been markers of lost places where temples once stood, where worship was once conducted, where the spiritual message could be delivered through a democratic process. The numbers tell the story of persistence. 500 years of waiting, 134 years of legal struggle beginning in 1885, 70 years of intensive litigation, 40 days of Supreme Court hearings, 1,045 pages of judgment, one unanimous verdict. But beyond the numbers is the principle. Archaeological truth matters, historical evidence matters, the faith of billions of people matters, and in it demurred. The Archaeological Survey of India's findings were crucial. They showed that a massive Hindu temple structure existed before 1528. 50 pillar bases from that temple were found. Temple architectural features were scientifically documented. Sanskrit inscriptions proved the site's Hindu religion. The Supreme Court's verdict acknowledged all of this evidence. It was a triumph of forensic archaeology, of legal reasoning, of patient persistence through democratic institutions. And today, Ram Janmabhoomi stands restored. Millions of pilgrimaged. The sacred geography of Hindu civilization has been reconnected. And through the work of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, the 203rd successor of the Surya Vamsa lineage, the principles that Lord Rama embodied, dharma, righteousness, spiritual knowledge, and civilizational pride, are being actively revived and transmitted to new generations worldwide. This is not the end of a story. This is a beginning, the beginning of Hindu civilization reclaiming its narrative, the beginning of sacred geography being restored, the beginning of a new chapter where ancient wisdom meets modern revival. From the ashes of 500 years of loss, Ram Janmabhoomi rises again, not through violence, not through vengeance, but through law, through evidence, through the patient work of millions who never stopped believing that truth would prevail. Jai Shri Ram, thank you for joining us for this special report. And this is the story of Ram Janmabhoomi, the story of how a civilization reclaimed its sacred geography after 500 years. Thank you.